Now, Nun Amud Beis, the Gemara right after the Mishnah, the beginning of the Gemara. Break the Gemara, why did the Tana mention specifically Arvei Pesachim? The Tana said in the Mishnah that Arvei Pesachim and Erev Pesach, Malkam Shenagu, a place with their night to do Malacha on Chatzois Oisim. Malkam Shenagu Shaloi Lasas Einaisim. So that implies that before Chatzois, it's totally on a minute. But after Chatzois, it's awesome. Well, why did the Tana mention specifically Arvei Pesachim? Afilu Arvei Shabbos v'Arvei Yom Tovim Nami. On every Erev Shabbos or every Yom Tov, not only Pesach, every Erev Shabbos, every Yom Tov, the Malacha is also in the afternoon. As we learned in the Brisa, it's a Malacha ba'Arvei Shabbos v'Yom Tovim. If a person does Malacha and her Shabbos Yom Tovim and Mincha v'Lamala, from Mincha and on, Eino Roya Simen Bracha La'olam. He doesn't see a Simen Bracha from it. The way Mishnah Berurah explains it, meaning that even if he profits from it, he'll have a corresponding loss elsewhere, so that he'll gain nothing from it. Now, assuming in this kasha, we're assuming that the Brisa says Min Mincha Lamala, that it's not precise. It's like dog. It's really Samach LeMincha. Mincha, the time of Mincha is the earliest time of Mincha. Mincha Gedola is 6.5 hours in the day. Chatzos is the end of the 6th hour. The time of Mincha is a half hour later. Of course, we're talking Shos Manias, if a 12-hour day, and any other day is proportional. So really, the time of Mincha is a half hour Shos Manias after Chatzos. Our Mishnah says Chatzos. And here we're saying in the Brisa that Erev Yom Tov, Erev Shabbos is Min HaMincha U'Lamala Ein Roi Simen Bracha. But we're assuming it's Leidak. So Mela, the kasha is, why did the Tana single out Erev Pesach? Every Erev Yom Tov is the same. More answers. Halsam over there, Min HaMincha U'Lamala Hudas. The Isser over there is from Mincha U'Lamala. Meaning, it is precise. It is Min HaMincha U'Lamala. It's 6.5 hours. Samuch lemincha loy, but samuch lemincha, it's not aser. V'hacha mechatzois. Here it's even earlier. It's a half hour earlier. It's if time is chatzois. So there's a special din. There's something special about Erev Pesach, and it has a greater chumrah. Inami, I'll tell you, another chilik is hasam simen bracha d'loi chasik. Over there, by every other Erev Yom Tov, it's not that it's aser, it's only that he doesn't see a simen bracha. Al shemusi lo mishamtinolei. We don't put him in cher. Hacha shemusi nami mishamtinolei. Over here, if he violates it, we also put him in cher. Meaning, as the Slach explains, that over there, it's only Ein Roi Simen Bracha. Here, it's an Isser. Now, it doesn't say Beferish, so we put him in Cher, but it's like any other Isser. If he violates it flagrantly, they put him in Cher. Meaning, the Chilik is that over there, by regular Erev Yom Tov, Ein Roi Simen Bracha. But over here, there's Mamish and Isser. Gufa, if he does a Min HaMincha U'Lamala, Motzei Shabbos, Motzei Yom Tov, Motzei Yom Kippurim, and he does it Motzei Shabbos, Yom Kippurim, and Motzei Yom Tov, Makol Malkam Sheyesh Nidnu Nevera, or any place where there is a shaykhus, a trace of an Nevera, Marzar coming to include Lasu Yasanis Sibar. To include a Tanas Sibur, the Goyen's Girs is Tisha B'Av. But our Girs is Lasuni Tanas Sibur, meaning the Taneis, where the last section of the fast, where the Regoizer are Tanas, where there's no rains, and the Regoizer Tanas Sibur. So it's also been Malacha. So in all these cases, that if he, in these types of cases, that he does Malacha on Erev Yom Tov, or the Motzoi, of those times where there is a simen, where there is an Isser Malacha, Ein Roya Simen Bracha L'Olam. He doesn't see a Simen Bracha L'Olam. In these types of cases, in all of these cases, he doesn't see a Simen Bracha. What is it when we say to the case of Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yom Kippurim? What are we referring to when we say that the Motzei Shabbos? So, Chera doesn't mean the entire time until Sunday. So it means even after the day has been over, it's even after it's after Shabbos, and technically it's after Tzeis, but they don't do Malacha until after Mariv. So they wait till after Marav. They wait till later on until the Marav of Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yom Tov. There's a person who's diligent, he's a Zorez, and he'll be rewarded. There's a diligent person, he's a type of person who's diligent, but he loses. His Zrizus causes him a loss. There's a person who's lazy, and he will get rewarded. There's someone who's a shafel, he's lazy and he loses. So the Bryce will explain. Zor is v'nizker, someone who is a Zoriz and he gets rewarded. What's that? It's referring to a type of person. Dovid kula shabsa, he works all week. He's a Zoriz. He works the whole week. V'lo yavid b'mali shabsa, but he refrains from working on Erev Shabbos. Zoriz v'nifsad, someone who's a Zoriz v'nifsad is Dovid kula shabsa. He works all week. V'avid b'mali shabsa, and he works also on Erev Shabbos. Now on Erev Shabbos, if he works, ain't a reisim in bracha, so he loses. Shafel v'nizkar, a person who's lazy and he gets rewarded. D'le'avid kuli shabsa v'le'avid b'malei shabsa. He doesn't work the whole week, but he also doesn't work on Erev Shabbos, so he gets the reward for not working on Erev Shabbos. Shafel v'nifsad, if he's lazy and he loses, d'le'avid kuli shabsa v'avid malei shabsa. He doesn't work the whole week and he works on Erev Shabbos, so there he loses. He says the women in the city of Mechuzah, even though they don't work on Erev Shabbos, it's only because they're mefankas. They're only because they're very spoiled and they're delicate. That's why they don't work. It's not because of Kavod Shabbos that they don't work. So over there, that they don't work over there, that the kol yom nami lekavdan, and we see that it's because they're funakim. How do we know that? Because they don't work the whole week. In any event, they don't work. So that they don't work on Erev Shabbos, it's not because of Kavod Shabbos, it's because they're mefunakim. But we can learn out from this brisa that nevertheless they get schar, they get reward, because that's in the category shafal v'niskar frektet slach. Well, isn't that exactly what the brisa we had from the brisa? What is Rava being meisiv from the Hani Nash the Mechuzah? He explains. He says you might have thought that from the brisa that it's somebody who could work, but he doesn't work. Now he doesn't work because he's lazy. He doesn't work on Erev Shabbos, but he could work. He has a possibility of working. So nevertheless, he gets schar because he doesn't work when he could have worked. But you might have thought that the Nash of Mechuzah who can't work, meaning not that it's impossible for them to work, but because there's such mefunokim, they never work, and therefore it's not really an option for them. So over there you might think, well, if it's not an option for somebody to work, he's not going to get schar. If he could work and it's an option, he's just lazy and he doesn't, nevertheless he gets schar for not working on Erev Shabbat. But somebody who's really not an option, you might think doesn't get schar, kamash malan, that they do. Rav Rami has a sira, ki godol ad shamayim chazdecha. It says that the chesed of the Rebbeinu Shalom, the kindness of Hashem, is up until the shamayim. Uksi ki godol me'al shamayim chazdecha. Another pasuk says it's even above the shamayim. Okay, so how do we resolve this sira? Kan ba'isum l'shma, kan ba'isum shaloi l'shma. If a person does it shaloi l'shma, he also gets reward, but it's only ad shamayim. If he does it l'shma, it's me'al shamayim. It's even more. Like we learn from Rav Yehuda, the Homer Rav Yehuda Mara, v'oilam yasek adam b'Torah mitzvahs hafal pi shaloi l'shma. A person should always be Isaac in Torah mitzvahs, even if he can't do it, if he's not doing it l'shma. Shemitai shaloi l'shma ba l'shma. Because eventually he will do it l'shma. If he does it, he learns Torah, he does mitzvahs, even if it's not for l'shem shamayim, even for it's an ulterior motive. Ultimately, he'll do it l'shem shamayim. Tosfos explains we have a stira that we learn that a person should not do l'shaloi l'shma. He says that kol ha'isek b'torah shaloi shaloi noich shaloi nivra. And over here we're saying loyal mi'asek. So Tosfos answers depends why he's doing it. If he's doing it for personal motive, shaloi l'shma, meaning for a personal motive to get rewarded for schar, for kavod, then that's when we apply this. But he does it. He learns Torah in order to attack the loimdim and attack the Torah. Chas v'sholom. That's noach loy shaloi nivra. Ton Rabbanon hamatzapel l'schar ishta v'rechayim. If a person looks to earn, to make a parnasa from his wife, from what his wife earns, or from a mill, from a rechaim, a mill grinding of the mill that grinds the tefillin. Ain't a roy siman bracha. From that, he's not going to see a siman bracha. What do we mean? Referring to schar ishta maskulta. When we talk about the earnings of his wife, we mean that she goes to the market with a scale. Taisa explains that to have a scale where she sells material. So, as the Rashi explains, he's not going to raise siman bracha because this is degrading for his wife to go out to the market, and the profit is very little. And rechaya agata. When we say for the mill, it means that he is renting out the mill. The mill that he'd say it's a lot of work, as Rashi explains, and very little profit. Aval avda umezavna, but if his wife, she makes things, umezavna, and she sells it. So she's making things at home, and then it's sold in the market. Then ishtabuch mishtav bakro, the pasuk praises that. Like it says in Eshes Chayil, she makes a cloak and sells it. So when it's degrading for his wife, and she has to do the work in the market, and that's degrading for her, and there's very little profit, it's ein reisim bracha. From the Reichayim, if he has to go to the market with a mill, and he has to then grind in the market, it's a lot of work, and there's very little profit. But if a woman makes at home, she makes fabric, she makes clothing, and it's sold, that's a different, the pasuk praises that. Ton Rabbana Namazdai here, but kanim, a person who makes a parnas by selling sticks that are used for posts for a fence, or jars, ein roy siman bracha lo'ilam. My timer, he doesn't see a siman bracha. What's the reason? Because came with the nofish apachasayu shalta boena. Since it's sold in bulk and it's in front of people, and they see these large quantities of merchandise, they give it an ein hara. There's an ein hara, and therefore he doesn't see a bracha. Tan rabbanan, tagre simta, people who sell things in the simtas, in the side streets. So it's exposed to the public. So people see it. Magadla behema daka, and people who raise small animals, Taisus explains that they raise them in a yishuv, and these animals sometimes go into other people's property and cause disturbances and cause loss, and the people scream at them. So in both these cases, there's a ein hara from the other people. The kaitzi laws tell you some people cut down good trees to sell the wood. So they sell down because they sell to sell the wood, and people are giving them ein hara. They're cutting down good trees and to sell it for the wood. But nice name, and people, when there's a division, there's a chalukah, they always insist on getting the best portion. Again, people put an ein hara in them. So, ein reisim brach lo'ilam. My time the Tobin people are wondered about this, and they give them an ein hara. The money, the prutas, literally the coins, the money that comes from 4 sources, there's no siman bracha. Schar kaisim, the pay of seifrim, that people are kaisim, they write svarim. Schar meturgamonim, and a meturgaman, the Rashiva would give a shir, and the meturgaman would repeat it, and with a loud voice, and call it out to the public, would be, so to speak, the loudspeaker. And people who profit from the investments that they make on behalf of Yisayimim, and money that comes from sending things by ship overseas, there's no siman bracha. Bishlam Bishlam, we understand that the pay of the Meturgaman, why is that? Mishum de Mechzik is our Shabbos. Because it looks like he's getting paid to work on Shabbos, which is, of course, awesome. Now, in reality, it's not. It's only Mechzik. But in reality, it's not, because it's Ma'avlah. he does what he does, the services the whole week, the shiurim the whole week. But most people are there only Shabbos, and what they see is Shabbos, and they think that he's getting paid to work Dafka for Shabbos. So we understand why over there that there's no Siman Bracha, because it looks like a zilzul in Shabbos, like an Isser, that he's being over in Isser Shabbos. Umos Yisayim Nami, we understand why the Labnei Mechilin, because they're Katanim. The Yisayim are Katanim, they can't be Meichel, and if there's anything that was done that was not something that they would not find favor with, or to be to their detriment, they can't be Meichel that. And a person who does his parnassus by shipping things and doing with being Isaac with the merchandise or trade overseas, we understand because Mishum Delav Kol Yomi Masechet Pesachim, a miracle doesn't occur every day. In those days, and shipping was very dangerous. So he's in Simchan Olanes. In my time, but why the schar of the Seifrim for writing Svarim? Amar Yishu ben Levi, he answered, they sat 24 fasts, al kaisei Svarim, till mezuzahs, for the people, the Seifrim that write the tefillin and mezuzahs and Svarim, shalisashu, that they should not get wealthy. They were mispal that they shouldn't be wealthy. Shalmale misashrim and kaisim. If to be wealthy, then they wouldn't bother to work. Now we need the Svarim, we need the tefillin, we need the mezuzahs. So we wanted to make sure that they wouldn't have too much wealth, so that they would need the parnasa and they would engage in it. The Ben Yehoyada says 24 fasts corresponding to the 24 Svarim in Tanakh. Ton Rabbanon, Kaisis from Tzilim Mezuzahs, Hein V'Tagrem, Tagareim, them and the vendors and the middlemen and the middlemen's middlemen, all the people that are engaged in the selling and the different agents, V'Chol Isam, Melech Shemayim, and all the people that are Isaac in Melech Shemayim. What is it including? L'Suya Machri Tchelas, even the people that sell the Tchelas for the tzitzis. Ein Arei Siman Bracha L'Olam. They don't see a Siman Bracha. They don't see a Siman Bracha from it because the same idea that we need these things and we need the people to be Isaac in them. If they're too wealthy, they won't do it. Ve'im Iskim Lishma Royim. But if they're Isaac Lishma, then they do see a Siman Bracha. Now what's the pshat? We need them to be Isaac in these things. Rashi explains, because they're doing Lishma, even if they do become wealthy, they'll still do it because of the mitzvah. So there's no concern, and therefore they do see a Siman Bracha. The people of Baishan, they had a minhag not to travel from Tzur L'Tzir on Erev Shabbos. Now, even though that was a short journey, it was relatively short, and it's not included in the Isser of traveling 3 days before Shabbos, but their minhag was, nevertheless, not to do it, so that they should be able to be available, and they should not interfere with their hachanas, their preparations for Shabbos and for Shabbos itself. Also, Benaya Kamed Rabbi Yochanan, so their children came in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Amrullah, they said to him, Hasan Efshalu. He said, our fathers were able to keep this minhag, meaning they were wealthy enough and they didn't have to go to the market. The purpose of traveling from Tzur L'Tzidon, because there was a market on Erev Shabbos in Sidon. And he said, our fathers, they were wealthy. They could refrain from not doing business and not going to the marketplace on Erev Shabbos. But but we don't have the financial capability. So we need the parnasa. Amar lahu, he said, nevertheless, kfar kibla v'seichem aleihim, but your forefathers are makabel upon themselves, and they have this minhag, and you're bound by it. Shenemar shma b'ni musar avicha v'al titaish tarsimecha. That here, my son, the musar of your father, and don't forsake the teaching of your mother, meaning you're bound by a minhag. Even though it's difficult, you're still bound by the minhag.